I am joined here in conversation at the Dangerous Darrin Show on Adobe Radio and the iHeartRadio Media Network with Milo Aukerman, singer, songwriter, lyricist, poet, actor, dog owner, freshly shaved, fresh cup of coffee in his hand, singer from the Descendents.
Yeah. Well, I got a seltzer at any rate.
I got some water. I find that when you drink coffee, just like when you drink alcohol, it's important to hydrate.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the same time. So they
Yeah,
go hand in hand. Hit them up on their Instagram at Descendents or descendents.tumblr.com for information on what they're up to. Right off the top, the descendents.tumblr.com. How come Tumblr? How come you don't switch it over? Because it just lived there for so long, or why Tumblr?
I have no idea. That might have been a recommendation by Stefan. I don't know if Stefan may have been on Tumblr for a while, but I'm not on any social media. I was on Facebook a few years ago, but I got kind of jaded and kind of disgusted by the whole thing. So I'm still looking for that social media site that I can embrace and not feel like they're trying to kind of shove a bunch of propaganda down my throat, or just, it's just you get, or just be kind of toxic in terms of the people that get on there and troll you or whatever. I have to try to figure that one out. And I think
you should look into Grindr.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm
sorry, I couldn't resist.
No. I'm on Snapchat just because my kids are on Snapchat, and it's a way that I can get a hold of them when I know that they're not going to answer my text or whatever.
You really? Does that work?
Yeah, for my son.
Hey, dinner's in an hour.
Yeah, because I mean, dude, you won't answer my text, but you'll answer Snapchat or whatever. So okay, we'll go that.
Do you say anything to her like, "Hey, and I'm trying to get a hold of you"? It's really simple with our phones nowadays to just go, "Yeah, Dad, I'll be there in an hour. See you soon.
Yeah.
Thanks."
Yeah, he's pretty bad, but I can't complain though because I've got my own foibles about communication too. So
yeah. So we look back into the calendar year. Now we're grinding into 2021, and things look to be somewhat optimistic. Things are moving in somewhat of the right direction, depending on who you ask. But in my opinion, and you're a smart guy, I think anybody that would look at this that has an ounce of common sense would look at that, at what's going on with the administration and the shots and things getting back to normal, that we're slowly moving towards the light. So. Yeah. Looking back into 2020, what did you do in the COVID year? How did you stay personally sane, and how did you manage your time? What kept you busy in that calendar year of COVID?
Yeah. Well, it was doing Mikey and his small uke, and doing the punk rock karaoke. That's just these little things that I would just glom onto whatever I could to kind of do some performing, because I couldn't perform on a stage, but if I can do some performing over, Zoom, or if I can do some performing over, video, that's what I did. I don't actively seek it out, but if it seeks me out, then I'm very grateful to do it. And then of course we have been making records. We've been recording as Descendents, and we got a record coming out in June, which is that we.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like
breaking news.
Yeah. I mean, this is a record that's.
You heard it here first, everybody.
Yeah. It's Descendants. It is Descendants, but what it is it's Descendants circa Milo Goes to College. It's actually got Tony.
Holy shit! Really?
It's got Tony, and it's got Frank even on there. So this was stuff recorded in 2002, before Frank died. He actually died a year or two after that. So it's that Milo Goes to College lineup. And what it is it's songs that Frank and Tony had written in 1978, 1979.
Oh my God!
So,
and were they on reel to reel? Where'd you find them?
Well, no, they got recorded. What they were songs that were written then and were part of our set at the time, but then didn't end up being recorded for Milo Goes to College. And then they just kind of sat there in the ether as songs that we knew we could do at some point. But in 2002. That's when Bill said, "Hey, we should basically record these songs that didn't make it onto Milo Goes to College, because they were either we'd outgrown them, or they didn't fit the format, or there's a lot of reasons why we wouldn't have put them on there. We'd actually been playing them so long that they just kind of got phased out. But these were so they started recording them in 2002, and we finally finished. I finally finished doing vocals for them like now basically. So that was a good way to stay busy during COVID. Is I had this great project of recording vocals for these songs that I remembered singing back in 1980. You know, these about half of these songs I sung in 1980. The other half had already been phased out of the set by that time. So.
Any leftover songs from the cheer session so you could bring in Doug?
No.
Bring the whole family together.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I'm not sure that there's outtakes from Enjoy that have been bootlegged. I think pretty much all the outtakes from Enjoy are on bootlegs somewhere.
Yeah, so there's no leftover sessions from that record. No. Well, maybe Doug can play a note somewhere.
Yeah.
So he's on the record. Everyone's on the record.
Yeah, it'd be great to have Doug come back or Ray Cooper. That was the I Don't Want to Grow Up lineup was with Ray Cooper, and the Enjoy lineup was with Ray. So we could try to get those guys back in there. But this was something where there was this pretty significant number of songs that never saw the light of day, and working all those up, you think, well, this is an actual full-fledged release. It's not like the one-off song that we didn't do, the one-off outtake. This is an actual whole record.
I know you guys have a lot of songs in storage. Well, for this particular record in June, how many songs would you say you had to choose from? 20, 30?
It's 19 songs. 19. It's the 19 songs from 1978 and 1979 that didn't ever get recorded.
But are there songs that didn't make it? Was there a cache of like 30? Or
no, I don't think so, because I think it was just if you're going to be a completist about that period, you just want to put them all out there, and they're all good. I don't think there's any fluff in there. And they're actually quite varied too. There's some real poppy songs that Frank wrote from that period, but then there's some also really nasty kind of punk rock, songs that he wrote as well. So it's a good mix of like nasty punk rock and like pop songs.
And they were recorded originally in 2002, but then amended this last year.
Yeah, recorded in 2002, and sadly Frank died about a year later. And so I think they sat around mainly because I wasn't actually back with the band, but at that point we didn't start flying high again until 2011. And then it was, I think in 2011, we were thinking, there's that stuff that we did back in 2002. And I thought, yeah, that's cool. But we were so busy making other records. We were making, Hypercaffeum. And so, it got pushed aside for that. But then during this COVID time, I thought, well, I got all the time in the world. We should just nail this down. And it was a great time. It was a lot of fun to do. And I just, usually when I record vocals here in Delaware, Bill flies out, but we couldn't do that because of COVID. So I just kind of did it all myself in my basement. And that kind of made it fun too, just because I was just on my own and just kind of, giving the Milo approach to it or whatever.
Did you send everything to Bill, and he would dissect it and go through it all? And
yeah, he'd comp everything, and they mixed it. It was the thing about doing something like that is it more than anything else, it was the memories it brought back, because as I said, these were songs I joined the band and they'd already had a set, like, okay, day one, here's the Descendents set list, and I'm like looking at all these songs, like, oh whoa, I got to learn all these songs, and so I'd say half of the songs on this record are from that period of me trying to learn, just basically trying to hit the ground running in the Descendents day one, and then the other half, like I said, are songs that they played before I joined, some of which I heard them play as a trio, And so,
and this is around the I Don't Want to Grow Up era, or Milo Goes to College?
It's actually no, it's actually pre Milo Goes to College. It's actually pre Fatty P, because we put out the Fatty P. That was the first record that I was even on with I Like Food and Wiener Schnitz and all that. So this is pre Fatty P, 1980 around, and it was just like and Frank and Tony wrote all the songs, because Bill hadn't really written any songs, and of course I had just joined the band, so it's kind of, and so this is coming out in June. It's called Ninth and Walnut, which is Ninth and Walnut is where they used to practice in Long Beach. It was like just someone's garage. It was like, I think it was Frank's brother's garage that they put the eggshell curtains up on, and would practice there. So that's why they call it.
Fans are going to show up to that corner and spray paint Descendents on the street.
Yeah, I think the house is still there, but don't tag the house, please.
Yeah, leave the house alone. The sidewalks and the street are fine, but I was thinking, like, if you could call the record Milo went, instead of Milo goes to college, I graduated. That's the name of the record.
Right.
Or I don't want to grow up. I grew up.
Yeah. Milo graduated high school. I was about ready to graduate high school, so Milo graduated high school. But
hey, Milo, I recently saw you in an interview somewhere online where you had a pretty healthy mustache. It wasn't Magnum PI, but it definitely was pronounced. It begs the question: did you get any flack from your family or your friends or your band or fans? Did anybody give you any heat?
God, so last time I maybe had a full-fledged mustache was probably one of those Movember events, like growing a mustache for Movember. I don't generally kind of cultivate a mustache, but I do. What I usually do is I just don't shave for a while, and so that it ends up being like this, kind of Grizzly Adams beard. Yeah, it becomes this Grizzly Adams thing, and then my wife says, "Dude, what the fuck you doing? You get rid of that shit." And then I, or for this interview, for example, I shaved off the start of a beard for this interview, which is my dirty little secret. I only shave for shows and interviews. So
do you have any pictures of the Grizzly Adams, Milo?
I don't, not on me, but yeah, it gets pretty long. I can grow a pretty good beard. Yeah.
Wow. Randy Bradbury, Pennywise, and Punk Rock Karaoke. Yeah, he's letting it go. So
yeah,
he's starting to start maybe another Tim Armstrong situation in the works.
Yeah. Now my problem with growing any kind of facial hair now at this stage of my life is that it comes in all mixed color. Like for Movember, I thought, oh, I'm gonna rock Fu Manchu for Movember, and it comes out and it's all like splotchy because unless I dye it, it's gonna be all white and gray, and so it ruins the effect. That's don't grow old is the motto.
That's great advice. Milo, everyone knows your academic history and what you've done. You named a record. Milo goes to college. So science versus punk rock. You've come back to the band a couple times in between going to school and getting your degree. I believe it's in biology, if I'm not mistaken. And I guess 2011 was the time you came back for good, 2011 to now, a 10-year period. So if you look at this as a battle, did punk rock win?
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, without a doubt, punk rock won. And it really is kind of, I viewed a lot of my life as this kind of push and pull between these two completely disparate things. And, for many years, the science was winning. And not only, from like a, kind of financial way, but also from just a creative way. I was getting a lot of creative juice from doing science. And I'm going to put that at about like 2001, 2002, 2003 was riding high on the science. But then it started to kind of go south after that. I'd say from about 2005 through to 2016 even. I could see it kind of, I was working for a company and they kind of tell you what to do. They say, hey, you need to go work on this thing over here. And I'm thinking, but I like what I'm doing here. So no, you got to go do this other thing. And so it's partly because I wasn't at a university and I wasn't able to kind of call my own shots. So that's partly what's to blame for all that. But by 2016, I was kind of ready to kind of get the hell out, which when they laid me off, I was like, what a relief. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And then I started at that point, 2016 is like, well, I guess I'm making, for the first time in my life, I'm considering music a career, that I'm going to take seriously. And basically do all the preparatory work and do whatever I need to do to kind of call it my thing. And so I think that the irony is the whole thing is that, when you're like a teen and you get in your first band and your parents say, well, you better have something to fall back on when this little band, this piddly little band, bites the dust. So, what's your backup for that? And I realized that my backup was being science. I had it all backwards. I think the music should have been my backup for the science career.
Interesting.
That's how it ended up happening, is that my science career just kind of imploded and I was back to my backup career, which is music. So I just had it all 180-degree reversed.
So
So
from
yeah,
2015,
I mean,
16 to now, have you gotten involved in anything scientific when you're not with the Descendants? Anything at all? Like, is there a
no,
lab?
no, I mean, since 2016, because it kind of ended so kind of, it was such a was such a belly flop in the end with science, where I was kind of ready to just to kind of say see you later. And so 2016 until about last year, I was kind of like, I was done, and I didn't really care to kind of go back to it. I was kind of like, I'm done with that phase, and it was sufficiently frustrating at the end to not make me want to go back to it. But of course, when COVID hit, I thought, man, maybe that was the wrong decision. I mean, I've thought about over the past year getting involved with something scientifically, but the problem is that I can't quite figure out what that would be. So I'm kind of, I don't know. I guess I think once we get back on the road, I think I'll be back riding high, and I won't have these thoughts of like science needs to come back in. But definitely, it's something where I maybe I should consider it. I don't know.
Well, I got an idea. We need to ease back into it. A band, and all our songs are about science or space or astronomy. I'm really into science, like astrophysics. So, so you, Dexter, Graffin, and me on drums, and it's called Three Smart Guys and White Trash, kind of like No Effects
Okay.
record.
Yeah.
White
No,
trash is going to be so Three Smart Guys and White Trash, and boom, that's it. We're ready.
Yeah. I mean, I've never written any songs about science. Never done it, but occasionally someone says, "Hey, you're this like geneticist guy. You could probably write a great song about DNA." And I kind of go, "Oh, but at that point, I would just be like, kill me now." I don't know if I could, you know, the thing about that is, I like being a nerd, and I embrace being a nerd. But once you write a song about DNA, maybe you've jumped the shark. I don't know.
You've gone too far.
You've gone too far, maybe.
Too far.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
even Dexter doesn't write songs about science.
That's right. He
does, but that's his thing.
Yeah. I mean, he could write a great song about DNA. He got his degree in molecular biology, as could I. But the question is, I mean, I would do it as a joke for sure. Yeah.
Something funny to do, I think. Having a whole record about science. I think people would get it. So science won the war. That's good to know. And I understand you've had,
No, music won.
Music, science lost. Science lost decisively.
Science lost.
Music won. And I'll talk to Dexter Graffin, and we'll see about getting that band together. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I know you have two kids, 16 and 18, and they would have been 15 and 17 during the COVID thing. What was it like having them around the house all day, every day? I know your daughter plays French horn, which, by the way, is the punk rock horn.
Yeah, well, it is because
in a group of horns, no one hangs out with the French horn. The French horn's over there.
Yeah.
And the rest of the horns kind of look at it and smoke and go, "Fuck off."
Yeah. Well,
that's the rock of all the horns.
I would say so, because like when she started it, she had done some violin before that. And then when she thought, I want to do the French horn, I'm thinking, wow, that's a real challenging, of all the brass, that's a challenging one to pick. She said, yep, that's why I'm picking it.
Cool.
Man, this 11-year-old girl being like, just give me the hardest one. That's for me, So I think that makes it punk rock. So it's like, it's like the one that everyone disdains it, and it's also happens to be the hardest horn. And so she just figured, well, that's good enough for me.
Really, like one of the hardest horns to play?
I think just because of the embouchure, maybe. I don't know, or maybe the range. It has a higher range than the trumpet or whatever. You're supposed to have like 3 octaves or whatever it is, and
wow.
And so I think it makes it harder. She really enjoys it, but during COVID it got very challenging because just like we can't perform, she can't perform, and so that took a lot of the wind out of her sails. So she still does it. She does a few youth symphonies and this kind of thing, but they do all this online Zoom stuff, and I think she's hanging on with her fingernails, like, am I going to do this anymore? Because COVID just just really just deflated the entire thing for her. So that's an effect of COVID, obviously. Yeah, and the fact that she's stuck around the house now, and my son's off down at college down in DC, and then luckily he could get out of the house and not be in the prison of house. But it's it's challenging for kids that age. I just wonder. I just wonder, whether this was going to be, is this going to be known as the lost year? Is this going to be known as the year that everything just kind of stood still for them? Or was there some progress made? Clearly there's some stunting on some of the development got stunted on some level.
For sure.
It's unfortunate.
It's really sad. And and your son, he's in school now?
He's down at George Washington University. Yeah.
Wow. Very, very cool. I know that you guys, the Descendents, you went to China a while back and played a series of shows in there. What was that like? And tell me about the food. And the reason why I ask is because I know you guys sing about food and you like food. But Stan Lee and the Dickies went there, and he came back with a report of he was really disappointed because the Chinese shows, the punks were great. The shows, they loved the shows, and that's one part of that question for you. But the food, he says there was literally no Chinese food. It was really bad. So did you have the same experience with food, or did you like it?
Oh, I liked the food there. I didn't have as much problem finding, good food. I mean, we were definitely not eating McDonald's or anything. We were eating whatever local thing we could. Mm-hmm. Had a fair amount of steamed buns and, whatever I could get my hands on. I don't recall being disappointed with the food. Wherever I go, I tend to try to eat whatever local I can eat. If I'm in India, I'm gonna have Indian food or whatever. But that wasn't it. No, I think we went over there like similar, like you said, the punks are really excited over there. And I think you go over there with reduced expectation, especially about what kind of money you're gonna make. You're just not gonna make a lot of money, but it's for the experience of never having been to China, a communist country. So that was kind of fun just to kind of see how, like we had shows where you'd be playing and the Ministry of Culture, the cultural minister would be up in the audience, like making sure that things, were taking notes or whatever. Well, one of the opening bands at a show, the drummer didn't wear a shirt because it was hot. So he wanted to go shirtless while he played his drums. And the culture minister guy was like, no, you need to go put a shirt on. It's one of these kind of things. So
during the show, he stopped the show and made him put a shirt on.
I think he sent a word down to the band that they should put a shirt on. I'm not sure. He may have gotten too late of a start on it. Maybe they didn't actually end up putting the shirt on, but he definitely made it known that he was disapproving that he was not wearing a shirt. But we had a great time. We had
a shirt off just to spite him.
Yeah, I don't know. That was fun. It was we had our tour manager was this Chinese woman who just was great fun to be around, and she took us sightseeing and stuff. And I definitely go back there. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
And I understand that to get into the country to play, you had to put together a spreadsheet of every lyric you've ever written.
Yeah. So that was, I was kind of wondering when was the government, like, once we agreed to do it, I thought, well, when's the government going to step in and basically, start, kind of foisting its weight, its muscle. And sure enough, Bill, emailed me one day and said, hey, we need a spreadsheet of all the songs. The Chinese government is going to read through all the lyrics and make sure nothing's bad is nothing anti-Chinese, which we don't really have any of those kind of songs. So I did it and I sent it off, and then I just thought, wow, someone's going to have a lot of fun reading these, songs about like whatever.
Yeah, they probably thought you guys were idiots. Like they're singing about farts and dirty bedding and coffee and food and suburban homes and
what's this Wiener Schnitzel thing? Yeah, that sounds disgusting. Why are they wanting to eat it?
They had to look it up. What's a Wiener Schnitzel?
Yeah. So.
Oh, it's a restaurant. Okay.
Yeah.
Not a sex.
And that, but in terms of the government cracking down on us, that was the extent of it. We never really had them like trying to stop our shows or anything. It was all kind of.
How many did you play?
think we played like 5. I'm thinking 5 shows. Yeah. I
Wow.
think we played Beijing, um, um, Shanghai, Beijing, and then Guangzhou, I think. Uh, where I think maybe it was only 4 then. It was a couple down by Hong Kong, and then Beijing, Shanghai. Yeah.
And they were fans, like they showed up. Good shows.
Yeah, yeah. They're smaller shows, but they're just fun. And one was actually, like in a squat house, kind of the equivalent of a squat house. It sure
Wow.
looked like, well, it looked like a squat house to me. It was pretty dingy. So there were some good punk rock clubs there. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, Milo, about the punk rock karaoke video you did with us. You did, if I remember correctly, Manny, Mo, and Jack
Yeah.
by the Descendents, and you took it to the next level with props, and you had a lot of fun with it, which we loved. And I remember calling Stan Lee and saying, hey, Milo wants to do a song, and he wants to do Manny, Mo, and Jack. He lost his mind.
Oh, really?
I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it's going to be amazing. I can't believe it. So he was really excited about it. And then you did the video and you bought all these props, and it was just really, really super cool. So thank you for that. But in your basement, it seems like you have a healthy wine collection.
Oh,
I thought it was knobs from a studio. Like wow, look at he's got a great set of gear, like racks and racks of gear. But it turns out those are bottles of wine.
What's all that hooch doing there? Yeah.
That's why you're an alcoholic.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I record vocals, and if I ever sound a little bit loopy when I sing, there's a good explanation for that.
Wine talking. Yeah.
But no, I think we actually got a bunch of wine for our wedding anniversary, my wife and I, from her mom, and so it's the kind of wine where you go, okay, don't open that for the next 50 years and this kind of thing. So okay, we'll just leave it alone, and that's what we do. But I like wine. Yeah. I don't go over the top with it. I don't drink like 5 bottles a night, but I like to have a little wine.
Yeah, I like wine. Wine tastes good.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny, I find sometimes when I go to wineries up north in Napa, or any winery for that matter, and I sample their expensive wine. This is really expensive wine. It's like $150 a bottle. I'm like, ooh. And then I take a little bit. I'm like, tastes like $9 wine at the drugstore.
Yeah, $2 chuck. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I have all that wine, but I'll go to Costco and just get a $10 bottle of wine, and that's fine too. I'm not.
Dinner, it's perfect. That's all you need.
About it, but I think when we have very special occasions and we pull out a wine from that cellar, I mean, I can taste the difference. It's what I do is, this is all French Bordeaux, so that has a certain nose and flavor that I can appreciate. It brings back memories of hanging with my mother-in-law and her being all snooty with me, and I kind of get in that zone of like, oh, we're gonna have it's wine tasting night,
Ooh, get some cheese and some grapes.
Yeah, exactly. So
nice music in the background.
I appreciate a good bottle of Bordeaux for a special occasion. I'll do that.
Right. But for dinner, you're right. Like a $10, $15 bottle of wine is perfect.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. You look at bands over the years, like Blink-182, they have mentioned you guys a lot in interviews and as influences, and even Green Day and some of the bands that really kind of broke into the stratosphere. The Descendents are considered, I mean, in punk rock circles, like they're part of the big 4. With you got the Descendents, NoFX, Pennywise, and Rancid. Just like metal has their big 4. I think Descendents are in the big 4 as far as punk rock. Are you happy with where the band lies? And when you started the band, did you ever have aspirations of trying to get to where those bands are now, or are you happy with living in this line, this thread of being considered one of the great punk rock bands of all time, but still living in that top 4, that top 4 of bands that never really did what the Green Day Blink thing? If I'm explaining that right.
Well, yeah, I'm actually, I'm actually humbled that we're with those groups, because I mean, let's face it, we don't put songs on the radio. We don't get songs on the radio. We don't really write. Oh, I mean, we've written some over the top pop songs, but a lot of our songs really are just more like we're like gritty punks or whatever. And so I feel like, to be considered amongst these other bands that have sold, hundreds of thousands of records. We don't sell hundreds of thousands of records. So for all intents and purposes, we kind of I think we bat above our, our average in terms of that. I think, I think of us as being more like like a Minutemen kind of band, or like a, Saccharine Trust, or that kind of a band in terms of the kind of music that we make, and in terms of our popularity. So I'm very gratified that people, can lump us in with those bands. I don't think we share as much kind of melodic kind of, ambition as those bands, on some level, because they're writing songs tailor made for the radio, and we're not really doing that. But yeah, to me it's all good. I feel like, back in '95 when we put out Everything Sucks, that was probably the first time I thought, oh wow, our band's not just this little kind of club band that plays, in front of 200 people. We can expand our horizon a little bit. And ever since then, I've just tried to kind of think, well, maybe we're getting closer to some optimal level of popularity. I mean, I don't think any one of us think we could be, like Green Day popular or anything like that. That's, again, we don't get songs on the radio, so it's kind of not in the cards. But I enjoy our level of popularity, is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and it's been a great joy for me as a fan from way back when to see the ascension to a little band called the Descendents that people have talked about a little bit in Maximum Rock and Roll, to here we are now. And you played a number of Warped Tours, did some big shows, went on some big music punk rock festivals, and here you are now at a level where I think you're not, no one's going to be near that Green Day, Blink, or Offspring stratosphere. But again, you didn't write songs that could easily be played on pop, modern, and active rock radio. So I love where you're at. It's almost like they're mine, get away. You got your Blinks and they're in Offsprings, and that's fine. But like the Descendants fall into that NoFX Pennywise realm of like, they're my band, get away radio, get away, popularity. And has any fans, have Blink-182 fans come up to you, or Green Day fans come up to you at shows and said, I never knew your band existed until I saw, Tom DeLonge or, Billy Joe talk about your band, and now I'm a huge fan? I'm sure that must have happened once or twice.
Yeah, it happens quite a bit. And of course, my view on it is thank you to those bands. I mean, I have to, because if anyone came to see us via that route, it's like, I feel a debt of gratitude for that. I mean, and also to the fans themselves, because what they could, fans that are listening to, say, Green Day or Blink, they have to have some curiosity about what happened before that. They have to have some curiosity about the kind of evolution of this music. And so I definitely appreciate them taking the time to kind of satisfy that curiosity and to go back, because they could just go off and listen to techno. They could just kind of like go in a different direction. But no, they decided, oh, I'm curious about how these bands, how did these bands develop their sound, and what are their influences, and that's how they lead back to us. And we've been benefactors of that type of approach. And I just feel grateful about the way it all went down, for sure.
Something just popped into my head, Milo. I remember you said you guys don't write songs about science, but isn't hypercapium spasmate, isn't that somewhat science? The science.
Well, yeah, absolutely it is. And I think when we finished tracking the record and we had to come up with a title, I think we had the image, the actual cover image, and then we had to come up with a title for it. And I was already thinking, oh, cool, we can have now like a science bent to the whole thing. Now, of course, there's no song on the record called Hypercapium, but I just felt like it would be fun. It was fun that Bill and I got to just bounce different ideas back and forth about what to call it. And it could be something, we started to develop this kind of story about, Milo was in his lab, and he was trying to make this like substance that was more potent than caffeine, and what would that be called? And so that's how we came up with the name. And it was just kind of an overall kind of a package of like an image and a title. And so yeah, that was fun to do.
Really quick, tell people about the science behind the hypercapium spasmate and how it works, and is it attainable? Can people get it? How do you get your hands on it?
Well, let's see. It's all spelled out. It's all spelled out in liner notes. You can go look at the liner notes. I wrote some liner notes for it, and basically I was in my lab, and I was trying to make more potent caffeine, and I had some chemical X, and the chemical X spills into my coffee, and then it turned my coffee into hypercaffeine. So this is all true. This is all true. Yeah. So no.
Was it bleach or Windex or what was it?
Yeah, I don't know what it was. What is chemical X? We don't know.
Yeah. Mystery. That's funny. It's like a flaming Mo. I don't know if you're a Simpsons fan or not.
Yeah, but what ended up happening is that my laboratory caught on fire, and I ran out screaming, "Eureka!" because I discovered
it's alive.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, besides that's the breaks. You guys have stayed away from, for the most part, politics.
Yeah.
Is that by design?
No, it's by what is inspiring us, or not even what is inspiring us. What is getting us riled up enough to write a song, And we used to write back in high school. What would get us riled up was the jocks in our school, or the girls who would have nothing to do with us, and there would be a sense of frustration around that, and voila, you get a song. And that has just not changed from that point until now. We tend to write, what motivates us to write? It's frustration, or romance, or just there's a variety of different things that would boost us up, get us above that energy of activation to actually write a song. I don't think any of us has woken up in the morning and go, oh, I think I'm going to write about X today. I think I'm going to write about whatever, politics. It has to be something that really kind of sticks in your craw, and you're like, Urgh. And so that's how we end up with these political songs. Over the last 4 years, my kind of ability to deal with what was going on in the political situation in our country, I kind of had reached my limit, and that's when all these songs came plummeting out about just how disgusted I was with it. Mm-hmm. So that's why. I mean, I think we could have been a political band back in 1980 if we would have written some Reagan. Reagan sucks. All these bands, Reagan sucks. And we were thinking, yeah, Reagan sucks, but I want to go get a chili cheese dog at Wiener Schnitzel. So.
And then you're like, well, Reagan sucks, but dead Kennedys are doing that, so let's just stick.
Yeah, right. There were plenty of bands doing the Reagan sucks thing, and we felt like, you also were younger and just not as astute politically or whatever, or just had other things that were really more in the forefront of our minds, like, can I get a girlfriend, or I want to go to Wiener Schnitzel. I mean, we did have one song on, Milo Goes to College. M16 was our one foray. Or I guess M16 and Statue of Liberty were two like political songs of that era. But so we've dabbled in it through the years, but it hasn't kind of come out in the torrent that came out like last year.
Right.
I think I wrote the songs, and I kept thinking, they have a short shelf life. Once the selection's over, poof, they're gone. So that, and I thought, I can't help how I feel. I just have to write them. I can't worry about the fact that that they're irrelevant in 6 months or whatever. I just have to write them.
Well, I think that's the breaks, and what your explanation details it very eloquently. Like it sounds like it was a release valve. You were so pent up with frustration over the last 4 years, and I think a lot of people were, that you needed to get it out on paper. The band needed to write this song, and it was hilarious, very well done. But overall, yeah, you're right about coffee, girls, and farts, and
those are universal. those are more universal subjects. So we will go back to those at this point. We don't have to write more political songs. In fact, I don't necessarily feel the need to write any more political songs right now.
Yeah, right now things are relatively calm. Let's hope they stay that way for the next 4 years.
Waiting for the dust to settle on, just waiting for things to return to some sense of normalcy. Yeah.
Yeah, with COVID, of course, and like I said earlier in the interview, the lights is at the end of the tunnel. What is your guilty pleasure? What is the one thing? Let's say musically. We could talk about food, we could talk about pop culture, but let's say musically. What's the one artist you listen to, and that people might be a little shocked. And not that any artist is bad, because art is art. And if you like art, whatever, if you like Milli Vanilli, that's totally cool. Or Right Said Fred. It doesn't matter. It's art, and it might be silly and people might laugh at it, but it's still art, and it's to be respected on some level. But what's your musical guilty pleasure? Something someone might hear you, forthcoming that you listen to and be a little shocked.
I mean, probably someone like Neil Diamond, because
Awesome.
yeah, and a lot of when people talk about guilty pleasures, some of it's because it's kind of ingrained in their upbringing, this kind of thing. And my mom had she bought a used BMW at some point, and the previous owner had a Neil Diamond tape in there, and had a Supertramp tape in there.
Cool.
So wouldn't you know it, I became fans of Supertramp and Neil Diamond. So you can throw up now if you want. I mean,
Breakfast in America is a great record.
Yeah, I actually liked Crime of the Century and Crisis What Crisis Better, but yeah, I think by the time Breakfast in America came out, I was starting to realize, hey, it's not so cool to like Supertramp anymore. I was getting more into new wave, so like you can't be in a new wave and be into Supertramp. But I guess Neil Diamond's the other one where growing up listening to him, and that's pretty cheesy. But then as an adult, I went back and listened to some of the early Neil Diamond, and there's some good songs that he wrote way back in the day, like Solitary Man, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Red Red Wine. Like he's also written a number of songs for other people that you wouldn't expect that he.
Right. I'm a believer. Yeah.
He's just a brilliant song crafter and a good guy. He had a COVID song like he did Sweet Caroline. Instead of touching me, touching you is like not touching you, not touching me.
Love it.
So he's got a sense of humor.
Yeah. I wrote a COVID song too. It's more of an acoustic song, but it relates to, we were talking about kids and watching them just be like so bummed out. And so I've got my version of a COVID song where it's like, hey, hold it together. Come on, you can do it.
I like the Carpenters. I think a lot of people poo-poo the Carpenters. I like Crystal Gale. I like a lot of old country, like Patsy Cline. But again, I think all art is art and all music is music. And it might be considered, Milli Vanilli might be considered bad, or Right Said Fred would be considered really cheesy and stupid. But at the end of the day, it made an impact in people's lives. And is it kind of cheesy? Sure. But do I put it on when I'm in my car sometimes? Why not? Yeah,
I mean, it's. I think everyone, part of, like I said, when you're growing up, you're a sponge, and growing up, I was sponging, I was assimilating all these things. I mean, Beatles were just everywhere, so obviously Beatles are just part of my DNA. But then all the other stuff that came from that same era. And I listen back to music of the 70s, and people used to say the 70s sucked for music, and I go, well, yeah, you had your disco and blah blah blah, but there was some good shit that came out in the 70s.
Yeah, like Neil Diamond and even ABBA. Some of those ABBA songs are awesome.
Yep.
They're really, really well done. Milo, before I let you go, have you ever taken a look in the mirror and said, I joined the band, and I think it was 1980, you joined the band, somewhere around there. So between then and now, it's 41 years of punk rock. Do you ever stand back and go, holy fuck, that's, it's more than half my life of being in a punk rock band?
Yeah, it's crazy. And, you just never predicted, because as I said, back in the early 2000s, I just thought, science is, I'm the science guy, and that was going to be my life, and music was in my rearview mirror. And to now find, a decade or so later that I kind of had it all wrong. I mean, that's my big lesson in all this is like, I kept moving away from music. I kept thinking, I can't really make a living. A, can't make a living doing it. B, not good enough to, just not good enough to do it, or just not high enough caliber or whatever. So I was definitely in my mind just kind of trashing the whole notion of being like a lifer, a music lifer. And now it's like, nope, that's me. Especially as of 2016, but even earlier than that, I mean, I realized that I'm, sometime around 2013 or so, I thought I could conceive of doing this until, I die. Like maybe I'll just die on stage. I'd never had that notion before. Like, I'm just going to be one of those guys that dies on stage, and now I'm thinking, why not? Why not? I mean,
There's worse ways to go than dying during a show.
it keeps you young. It keeps you young. It keeps you creatively vibrant. It can, at least. And it's just, it's so, to me, it's almost bucking the trend. It's almost like, how much more punk rock can you be than to say, fuck y'all, I'm gonna do it in my in my 70s. I mean, punk rock is supposed to be for the young, and I keep thinking, if I'm physically able to do it, no, I'm just gonna say no.
It takes a few more cups of this to get on stage, I'd imagine.
Exactly. We're up to, Bill's up to like 10 espressos. Over the years, it's been like 1-2 espressos to now 5 espressos to now 10. And you're like, it's like as the number of years
for a show, you mean?
Yeah.
His heart's gonna explode.
Yeah, I know. He takes a thermos and just like if he's got, like, to go to Starbucks, for example, he walks into Starbucks, plants his thermos down, says, "Can you fill this with espresso?" And then it's like, espressos go in there. And so he's pretty nuts about it. But he said that he's admitted that, hey, the only reason that I can do this the way that it's supposed to be done, I mean, he could do it half-assed, but no, the way it's supposed to be done is by this coffee, the drug of choice, the crutch, the helper.
I think that's part of it, though, Milo. I mean, I'm a drummer, as you know, and I've watched Bill extensively. He has developed over the years a technique where he's letting the drums and the drumstick do most of the work in most of the set. There are certain fills, like bikeage, like, just the rolls. There's lots of rolls that he has to require his, okay, I need to man up here. But the rest of it's just, he's on autopilot coasting. And this stick, he's barely hitting the drum. And I told him one time, I'm like, you're barely hitting the drums. He's like, let the mic do the work. Don't let your arms and wrists do the work. Let the mic do the work.
Well, yeah, and this is how he can do. Yeah, this is how he can do an hour-and-a-half set, and live to see another day. It's like you go out on tour and you're definitely like, okay, we're going to go destroy. But what about tomorrow? Okay, well, we're going to destroy enough to be able to destroy again tomorrow. And that's part of what it's all about.
As the Descendents get older and as you get closer to dying on stage, as you mentioned, then you'll be writing songs like "Fuck AARP" and like all like senior citizen. I can't wait for my Social Security check.
Yeah. No, it's like, hey, you damn kids, get off my lawn. Never mind. Didn't mean that one. Yeah. Like that's the natural thing that we would do is, hey, you damn kids, get off my lawn. But then you're thinking, yeah, but those are the people in my audience, so that's not good. Yeah. No, I think if people have to realize that we're doing this for fun. It's like, if it's not fun, we're not going to do it anymore. And part of making it fun is exactly what you're talking about. Like, well, it's got to be fun tonight and it's got to be fun tomorrow night. So we definitely we do the strategies. We take the strategies that we have to take to make it fun, not just tonight, but tomorrow night and the night after that. Mm-hmm. And if that means learning some new techniques, which is what Bill has done, that's what we're going to do. I learned different singing techniques for the same reason. And so that way, and we don't go out for like 2 months. We go out for 2 weeks or whatever, and mm-hmm. come home. And all these things are they're all designed so that we can have as much fun as possible. Because as soon as it stops becoming fun, I'm out of there. And that's what I've done over the course of the entire 40 years. It's like, wait a minute, like in 96, we toured like dogs for a year, and I said, okay, I'm done for a while. I'll go do something else. And but now it's like, no, I want to do this till I die.
Yeah. Before I let you go really quick, 2021, is there anything being booked? Because on the website, there's no shows listed, but is there anything at all on the calendar year for 2021? Or are you guys going to wait for 2022?
Well, we had a little English tour booked, and that has now gone kaput. It was based around the Download Festival, but Download Festival saying, no, we're pushing it back to 2022. So that kind of went kaput. And now I'm kind of on pins and needles because we're waiting for, we've got a Europe thing planned, like a Germany, Slovenia kind of thing planned in August. And we're, who knows? Who knows? It's
especially with the situation right now in Europe. It's not good.
Yeah. No, they're not getting the vaccines together. So, who knows, maybe that get canceled too. I mean, I pinned my hopes on these little things that, 5 years ago would have been like, okay, and give me more. But now it's like, if I can play one show in 2011, I'll consider it, a victory.
Yeah. Well, 2022 hopefully will be in the super clear, and then everything will be blown wide open. We can kind of get back to what we call normal in 2018, 19.
That's right. I'm willing to do whatever. I'll wear one of those bubbles, one of those flaming lips bubbles. I'll wear one. Maybe have the audience do it too, or maybe there needs to be a sneeze guard at the front of the stage. I don't know what it's going to take.
Like a salad bar.
Yeah, like a salad bar sneeze guard. I can tell you one thing. I'll never give my mic out to any other kid. My mic. Don't take my mic.
Yeah, when you go like this, you're going to be like,
yeah, I was that guy. Like, here, you sing a line, then I'll sing a line, then you sing a line. It's like,
well, maybe there can be mics set up at the stage, and the kids can down the mic, and they can be crappy mics and just throw them away.
Yeah, like disposable mics. That would be good.
And then the security guy comes in and replaces it with a fresh one.
Yeah.
Milo, thanks so much for coming on the show. I do appreciate it. I've known you a long time. You're a good guy and a great conversation. The new record is coming out in June, you said?
June. Yeah, June, 9th and Walnut. 9th and
Walnut. That's going to be exciting. And hopefully you can squeeze in a couple shows in between June and December of 2021. But 2022, look for a string of Descendents shows.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Milo.
All right. See ya.
It's been so long since I had a